Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Euro Roundup, where you give us your winners and losers from the game week just past and forget about Tom Cruise. The real last samurai, Patrick Van Straten, returns from the land of the rising sun. And sprinkle your other generalisations in the comments below. How are you?
I'm good.
How was it?
It was great, thank you. Yeah, this is actually my second shoot since being back. I was on Continental Club the other day and I was extremely rusty. How are you?
I'm really good. I went to Brighton and also feel rusty for other reasons. I mean, that sounds a little bit more nefarious than I meant it to. But really keen to talk about European football. And I know that you had a good trip. Time. And you know how I know that you had a good trip? Because you trotted in early this morning with your coffee and you looked energetic, rejuvenated, you had a smile on your face. I'm looking forward to that continuing for another 48 hours.
That's just because I'm a bit jet lagged and I woke up at 6.
Who was our first team? It's Barcelona. This comes from Fez Dababny 18.
Incredible from you there.
Yeah, thank you.
You actually rolled through that pretty well.
Broke that down into 4 words as well, his handle. It's probably Fez Dababny 18. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, Barcelona top of La Liga on goal difference after beating Atletico Madrid 1-0 at the Wanda Metropolitano. Now, no surprise actually that they came out as victors despite going away to Atleti. Diego Simeone has never beaten Barcelona in domestic competition. In 22 meetings across the league and the cup, 8 draws, 14 losses. Incredible. And in this game, I don't know, that you always feel like they're quite well matched in a way. In that Barcelona want to have all the ball, Atleti don't care. Barcelona want to attack, Atleti kind of want to defend. So Barcelona had 66% of the ball. They were actually outshot though, 17-13.
Even more absurd given the fact that Atleti were averaging about 6 shots a game for the first 5-6 games of the campaign.
It's really picked up since then. And in the first half, it was really Ter Stegen who kept Barca in it. I mean, he made an incredible save from Hermoso. He made an amazing save later on from Morata as well, like really low down. And his reactions, I mean, I was watching it and I thought, oh, are these actually the 2 best keepers in the world right now? Like they probably are. But anyway, Barcelona ended up with 5 shots on target to Atleti's 2. So their attacking skill did show as the game went on. But XG had it about even, 1.2 to 1.2. So Atleti can count themselves a little bit aggrieved that they didn't get at least a point out of it. A low-scoring game always on the cards here. Fix failed to produce more than 3 goals since 2015.
Wow. That is surprising, but this game was a good embodiment of that, right? Because it was quite attritional, particularly in that midfield, encapsulated by Thomas Partey's contribution. The Ghanaian, unfortunate to be on the losing side, to be perfectly honest, making 8 tackles and interceptions, the most on the pitch, unsurprisingly, whilst also still making the time to provide 1 opportunity for his teammates, which was the same as a pretty lacklustre João Felix, who was actually hooked quite early for Vitolo, wasn't he? So not the contribution he was looking to make in this game. However, in the end, as it normally is, wow, that's the fireball. We're going to carry on because we're super professional here on Euro Football Daily. Lionel Messi stole the show, didn't he? The Argentine managed 3 shots, put 2 on target. So volume-wise, not up to his usual standard, but still pretty decisive when he got the opportunity. Scoring 1 goal, 9 dribbles though, completed. So
pretty good, pretty good.
Doesn't matter that he's now over the age of 30, still scalping people regularly for fun. 12 attempted as well, so completed a large proportion of them. He also made a key pass. Now his goal came in the 86th minute of the game, meaning Barca have now collected 17 points in the league thanks to Messi's 52 career goals in the last 5 minutes of the game. I mean, it just doesn't matter when in the game Lionel Messi is. He's only, seconds away from making a meaningful contribution. And a lot of his goals this season have come from him picking up the ball around 18 yards out, exchanging, lovely little 1-2s with Luis Suarez, who's ebbed and flowed, hasn't he, the start of this campaign. There's a real blueprint for how he can still contribute towards the end of his career, and it's, just picking the ball up, not having many touches. And getting a shot off straight away.
And that Yorker that he likes, where he hits it so it bounces just before the keeper's dive.
Unfortunately for Atleti, 4 of those 17 points have been registered against them, more than any other team in the competition. The Argentine now on 9 goals and 5 assists in just 721 league minutes this year. No wonder, despite those niggling injuries at the start of the season, that he is the front runner for the Ballon d'Or, which is actually set to be announced today. So we thought we'd give our thoughts on who we think will win. Is it as clear-cut as Lionel Messi? Can Virgil van Dijk sneak in there before him? I mean, given the lack of clean sheets for Liverpool at the start of the season, maybe not.
He can, but he shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, he's great. He may have had the best centre-back season I've ever seen last season, but it's Messi. It's the best player there has ever been.
No one really talking about Robert Lewandowski's credentials, but...
Yeah, but I mean, what is he better at than Messi?
Maybe next year. That celebration.
Being tall.
Yeah. And really cut. Before we move on to our next section, if you're not a member of the EFD squad, then click subscribe as displayed on screen now and turn notifications on to never miss an episode of ERU.
Our first losers of the week are Bayern Munich. This comes from @CameronSmith10. They've been on a hot run recently, so it's unusual to find them in the losers.
Yes, Peeves,
Funny,
that
though.
bump post-Kovac is no more as they succumb to a 2-1 loss to 10-man Bayer Leverkusen at the Allianz Arena. Now the defeat season dropped to 4th. It was their 3rd loss of the season already, just 1 off last season's total of 4. So pretty stinky stuff for them. It was their 2nd home loss already as well and came despite totally dominating the game on a statistical front. The Bavarians having 75% possession. Monstrous throwbacks to the LVG era there, and 23 shots to Leverkusen's 11, putting 11 on target to the visitors' 7, which is still pretty healthy from Leverkusen, isn't it? With XG putting this down at 2.25 to 1.45 in the host favour. That's happened to them an awful lot in recent history where they've dominated but not quite got the result, which is weird when you have a man like Robert Lewandowski pretty much bagging everything in his vicinity. But that wasn't the case in this game, weirdly enough. The Pole not scoring for just the 2nd game in this campaign. They hit the woodwork 3 times in total. Robert Lewandowski heading one of those against the crossbar late on. But nevertheless, a great effort for Peter Bosch's side, who lost Bailey, Vendel and Aranguiz in the second half to injury, if memory serves me correctly. Jonathan Tah was the one who was sent off late on, their defensive behemoth. So, all things considered, did pretty well to escape with all 3 points.
Yeah, I would think so. But it was really down to Bailey. I mean, Bailey was incredible on the day. 2 brilliant goals to get this big away win. In 63 minutes on the pitch, he took 3 shots, created a chance, and made 3 tackles and interceptions. Perhaps reaping the benefit of that time he spent playing as a kind of wing-back when he first arrived in Germany. But obviously the most important player for Bayer Leverkusen was keeper Lukas Hradecky, who made 10 saves on the night, including a point-blank effort from Müller in the second half to deny them an equaliser. Wendo and Lars Bender made goal-saving challenges, and actually this win was only Leverkusen's 2nd in 30 attempts at the Allianz Arena.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable stuff.
Historical.
From a Bayern point of view, Joshua Kimmich will probably not want to see the highlights. He was actually on the ball more than any other player on the pitch, 115 touches, but really bad defensively. Completed 40% of the tackles he attempted and was dribbled past 3 times.
I mean, it's a pretty handy left side, isn't it, from Leverkusen? So he
It
was up
is,
against
but
it.
still, man. I mean, anyway, Hansi Flick's side are now 4 points off first place Borussia Mönchengladbach, who they visit on Saturday, in what could be an early title race 6-pointer, while Leverkusen's win keeps the top half of the Bundesliga extremely tight. Only 6 points separate them in 7th from Mönchengladbach in 1st. So we could finally, I know we say this every autumn, but we could finally have a title race in Germany. Wouldn't that be fun?
Do you think this title race is more convincing than Dortmund's from last season?
Yes, definitely, because Dortmund last season I don't think were actually good, and the stats kind of back that up all along, whereas this season it's not so much that anyone's so brilliant, it's more that there are so many. So Dortmund are better than they look this season. Mönchengladbach are pretty good. Leipzig, I think, are great and will get better because defensively they've been a bit ropey. So when you look at all of those, the odds of one of those teams being either brilliant or very lucky, I think it's pretty good. Whereas last season it was like, if it's not Dortmund, it's nobody because everyone's kind of shit.
Yeah, Hansi Flick experiencing a lot of goodwill after some of the results, particularly in the Champions League as well. So let's see how the squad deal with being under the cosh once more, I guess, because if you're not in top spots and you're a Bayern Munich player, you're normally up against it. Let's move on to our next team. Rounding off our W's then, it's at Front Post Pod, and he's put Inter Milan forward as victors. Why is this?
Well, they went top of Serie A for the first time since September after beating Spal 2-1 at the San Siro. Now, obviously, they were aided by Juventus' draw with Sassuolo, which we will come on to in our losers section. But that league position is well deserved after such a great start to the campaign. In fact, in Serie A history, only Juventus in 2018-19 and 1949-50 and Napoli in 2017-18 have accrued more points after 14 games than Inter's 37. That is absolutely tremendous. It also matches the points tally that Conte achieved at this stage in his last season with Juve in 2013-14. His side have only dropped 4 points this campaign. This win was their 5th on the bounce. And they're just relentlessly good. They just grind their opponents down. They've betted their opponents on XG in all but one game this season. And weirdly enough, that was against bottom place Brescia in October. 0.8 XG Inter had, 1.6 for Brescia. Incredible. But they were truly dominant in this match. 55% possession, 19 shots to 12, 8 on target to 3. These are very Conte numbers. And XG ended up at 2.1 to 1.2. I still think Juventus are quite a lot better than Inter. I really do. But Conte deserves so much credit for what he's doing.
And we'll get on to Juventus in just a second, spoiler alert. But let's continue to lavish praise upon Inter Milan, and in particular, Lautaro Martinez, who was once again on fire in this game, getting both of his side's goals, taking his tally for the season to 13 in all competitions. Only teammate Lukaku and Ciro Immobile have outscored him in the league thus far. The 22-year-old, as a result, contributing to a goal every 108 minutes in the league, that is, compared with one every 167 minutes last term. So he's improved in a very, very emphatic way. It's no wonder that his XG per 90 is currently at 0.7, although key pass is down a little bit from 1.4 to 1.1. You expect that if his directive is now to be the last man or get beyond Lukaku. He does actually rank 3rd in Serie A for 2.9 shots per 90. And in this game was a pure striker, taking 6 shots, but attempting just 15 passes, completing only 5 of them. These are sort of numbers reminiscent of Mauro Icardi, aren't they, when he was in that Inter Milan side. Another notable performance, this feels a bit redundant to say now, on the day was Marcelo Brozovic, who is just Mr. Consistent for them, isn't he? Completing 6 tackles and interceptions in the centre of the park, controlling the game with 98 touches. That's the second most on the pitch, completing 74 passes in the process with a pass accuracy of 90%. Very active in the final third as well, so very much a two-way midfielder. 4 key passes, including an assist for Lautaro's first goal, 3 shots, putting 2 on target, so pretty unlucky not to have his name on the scoreboard as well. Next up for Inter is a very tough tie against Paulo Fonseca's Roma. Just about got that out on Friday night. But do we think they can challenge Juventus deep into the season, or is it a little bit too early? Because they actually had a good start, didn't they, last campaign as well? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on to Juventus.
Juventus are final losers of the week, no surprise, given that we both mentioned it in the previous section. This comes from @0foxgiven75, really summing up my feelings about the Italian title race. Oh, you've dropped from 1st to 2nd in December. Who cares?
Probably Sarri, to be perfectly honest, because he's got a lot of experience finishing 2nd, and it's starting to look ominous, isn't it, given the form of Inter Milan, although Juventus not really deserving to lose this game. I'm sure we'll get onto that in a second. Bonucci opened the goal scoring as well with a deflected effort before ex-Chelsea man even, not ex-man, Jeremy Boga chipped Buffon to register his 4th goal in 12 league games. That's already one more than he managed in 25 appearances last term. And he's actually a really interesting little player, and no doubt we will profile him on Scout Report in the coming weeks. Buffon starting his 1st league game since the 30th of October. So, really tasty little side narrative in Juventus versus Sassuolo. Buffon's back, guys. He wants Maldini's record, and he doesn't care how many points Juventus drop in order for him to get there. He only needs 3 more appearances, apparently, to beat Maldini's record of 647. The veteran, however, made an absolute howler, nearly lost in the game as he fumbled Caputo's efforts into the net. Effort, not plural. But that whole sequence of events was really started by De Ligt failing to clear a quite simple ball. So a shocker, defensively speaking, all round. Ronaldo then on hand to tuck away a penalty, because that's pretty much what he does these days. In the 68th minute for a foul on Dybala. The Portuguese converted to register his 6th goal of the season.
Ooh, 100 mil.
He's only 10th in Serie A for goals scored at the moment. Returning to Buffon, though, he's only managed to keep 1 clean sheet in 5 appearances since returning from PSG, whereas his long-term replacement, who waited pretty much 2 years to start games and is now in a similar predicament once more, has kept 4 clean sheets in 9 efforts. Buffon only made 2 saves in this game. Sassuolo only had 4 shots on target, but the shots might have been from 3 yards out, you say, Chris. Well, not really when we take a look at the XG. You're going to do that in a second. He's making 1.6 saves per 90 this season, his worst ever ratio in a league season in his entire campaign, and the worst for goalkeepers with 5 or more appearances. I think it actually ranks him as 22nd. Chesney making 4 saves per 90. I'm pretty alarmed. It's pretty alarming that Chesney has to make 4 saves per 90. Given that
that's not that many.
But being the Juventus goalkeeper has pretty much been the easiest gig in football for the last 7 years. But actually, not the last one or 2 seasons.
4 shots on target is not that many to face, though. Whereas in this game, Sassuolo's keeper, Stefano Turati, had a lot of shots to face in this match. He's an 18-year-old who was making his Serie A debut. He was actually born 11 days after Buffon made his league debut in 2001.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cute? Isn't that adorable? What a little baby. Anyway, he had a fantastic game. He made 7 saves, and yes, he didn't get a clean sheet. But given that his side allowed 4.45 expected goals, to only let in 2 is a pretty good performance. And his side put up 0.7 expected goals. So I think it's pretty clear how this game should have gone. But anyway, Sassuolo have only managed 2 clean sheets all season between Turati and their normal number 1, Consigli. They've conceded 23 goals in the league. But still a time for celebration. The first time in 8 league meetings that they've managed to get a point against Juve. They're now 14th with a game in hand on the teams around them. But a game in hand doesn't mean a lot to them at the moment. They've only got 1 win in the last 6. So they'll have to hope that they can really pick up some form going into Christmas, or maybe that they can limp through to the winter break. Next up, 5th place Cagliari. Not an easy one. Juve, on the other hand, a point behind Inter Milan. They are still unbeaten. They do still have the best defence, but they've got Lazio next week. And when we get onto the start of the week, that looks like a bit of a difficult one for them.
Our star of the week comes from Joe_D_Shepherd, and like you mentioned, it's your man Ciro who is lighting up the Eternal City, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really stopped scoring since he came back to Rome. His past 3 league campaigns for Lazio, 23 goals, 29 goals, 15 goals, and now he's on course for his best season to date. He's got 17 in 14 this season. Only Angelillo for Inter in 1958-59 and Borrell for Juventus in 1933-34, when there were about 12 goals a game, have scored 17 goals in fewer team matches than Immobile this season for Lazio.
That's pretty good.
That is mental. Yeah. An XG of 9.7, so he is a bit hot right now, but I don't know. He always slightly outscores his XG, I think, for Lazio. So I think he is an above average finisher. I would expect this to slow down a little bit, but it doesn't really matter at this rate because he's so far ahead of expectation. Yeah,
Immobile's numbers have been really fun to try and decode at the start of this season because he's been really creative, averaging around 2 key passes a game. He took 7 shots alone in this 3-0 victory over Udinese, but he also won 0 aerial duels. I mean, he only averages 0.4 a game. He completed 0 dribbles. He only averages 0.2 a game, but still proving to be really decisive, probably benefiting from playing next to Correa, who complements that skill set, whatever that is, really well. All but one of his shots in this game were inside the box, with his second of the night coming from the penalty spot. And his unreal form puts Lazio, his supercharged Lazio, to third place, 5 points clear of Cagliari. If his form carries on, he could secure Lazio Champions League football for the first time since 2008. Very deserved of this week's MVP. Well done, Chiro. What else do we have for people who have made it to the end of ERU?
Nothing. Move on. Go and watch Winners and Losers.
Go and watch Stat Wars as well, where I was relegated this weekend. So I won't see you on that for a little while.
Don't need to watch it.
So let's reminisce in the comments. And apart from that, like, subscribe, see you later.